What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first voiceover video of the channel. Most YouTubers do this right away. I'm taking a little bit of a different approach. So, just to give like a heads up of what the channel structure is going to be, pretty much is we're going to do like the no commentary long plays for the majority of our videos, and then there'll probably be like a rogue video like this one here and there, most likely as a wrap up or like an initial thoughts, or maybe I start a game and I don't like it, so I'll just do like an overview video of like why I stopped and stuff like that. So that'll probably be like the channel identity going forward. But welcome to the channel. If this is the first video you're watching, go check out my other stuff. It's just chill videos, checking out various games. Mostly Souls-like, survivals. Whatever I want to play. We have some strategy games coming up. That kind of stuff. So, with that preamble out of the way, today we're here to talk about Raft. So I finished up Raft, the main story. I did some of the extra stuff down the line. I completed the raft that I wanted to build, made it look pretty nice, and I just wanted to give some like general overall thoughts on the game and, kind of my critiques and criticisms of the game. I will say, if you don't want to sit here through however long this ends up being, like 15, 20 minutes, I did deeply enjoy the game. If you're a fan of open world, like survival-ish games, you think Grounded, The Forest, maybe 7 Days to Die, like the zombie survival games. This game is much more chill than those games, but it does kind of scratch the same itch. So I did enjoy it overall. Like, I'm not going to give it like a rating like 7 out of 10 or anything like that. So what does that mean? So let's dig into that a little bit deeper. So what did I like? I did like the ambience of the world. I did like the graphics of the game aren't anything special, but I think they fit the world really well. The story was okay. The follow in the previous people's footsteps, the lead up till the end, was neat, kind of deciphering what was going on. I don't think there was enough structure to it, and I'm not saying that like, oh, you needed to meet the NPCs along the way, or you needed to, they needed to spoon feed you the narrative beats. I just feel like there were so many different NPCs that we bounced around that the narrative cohesiveness didn't feel great at the end. Like, sure, I knew who Dedo was, I knew who Bruno was, I knew who Olaf, the bad guy, was, but I don't feel like they touched on them enough. Like, I feel like they could have, especially like Olaf, talked about him more. Like, it is basically like once per every 3 story beats that he would come up. So in that aspect, I felt like they could have done a little better. But story is not like as much as it is part of the game. I feel like it's not the focus of the game. What I do believe is the focus of the game is the crafting, the building, the collecting, like the general survival things, like keeping your health and water supply up, building up to this elaborate raft where you can, you're very self-contained. You can create your own food. You can make your own, smoothies and stuff like that. And that part of the game they pull off very well. It's hard to understate just the sheer pleasure of just throwing out the hook and bringing in multiple things like that dopamine hit every time throughout the whole game, and even towards the end of the game where I had enough collectors that I didn't have to use the hook anymore unless I went like free diving. Just felt really good. Like, there were just satisfying moments throughout. I mean, the big pro for me was the crafting system and progression system. There was a very clear progression of the raft. I mean, you went from this little 2x2 piece of wood to, I eventually built pretty much like a ship, full on, almost pirate ship-esque. And as you go along, the building materials get better, the crafting components get better, everything just gets better. So the progression system of building up your raft is good. It's intuitive. It's fun. There is a clear progression. So that area was a huge pro to me. Yeah. So beyond that, uh, like pros, I don't know. Like I think that's pretty much it. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you nail like the core gameplay, the game is just fun to play. And survival games are like a dime a dozen. If one doesn't stick, it's very easy to quit it and go find another one, which I've done. Like I tried 7 Days to Die early and didn't like it. I do want to go back and try that one. So it is what it is at this point. Uh, with the pros out of the way, let's get to the things that I didn't like. So the big one for me has nothing to do with the game. It's just me. I have Thalassophobia, and if you watch any of the videos, you'll see that it's tagged in there. I have a very big fear of like deep water. Like it just freaks me out. Like I can go into the ocean until it hits about like chest high, and then at that point that's as far as I'll go. And if I'm out in a boat on open water, I can't stand it. Like I get sick. I freak out. I have like a nervous breakdown, panic attacks, all of the above. So this game was like a huge exercise in, quelling that. And if you watch the beginning videos, you'll see it. Like I am very afraid to go in the water, even after the point where, I can take the shark very easily once I kind of figure out the timing to stop him. I refuse to go into like the open water. Like I have to dock the boat. I have to see the reef. Um, that area for me was like a challenge. But as the game progressed, that bothered me less and less because I started learning the mechanics of the game. I started treating it more like a game where like the other side of this is like Subnautica. And Subnautica, I could never get over that. Like I've tried to play Subnautica multiple times because it is a phenomenal survival game with a really great story. Um, Kind of where this game lacks, and I just can't get through it because I can't get over that. Like there comes a point where you have to dive so deep that I cannot get past it. So that was like the biggest challenge for me, and I put that in the cons list. But that's such a cop out because it's a problem that I have. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual problems of the game. And this list is going to be a little longer than the pros, but I don't want that to take away. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I did really enjoy the game, and I would highly recommend if you're a fan of the genre to check out the game. But the cons, the first huge con for me is by far the combat system. Like it is so one note. It is so it almost seems like an afterthought. Like we have to put something in here that you know just to fulfill the combat quota of survival games. Like I'd almost prefer it if combat was not in the game at all. Like you could defend yourself against the shark, but you could never kill the shark. Like you could chase it away for a while and it would come back. But I understand that like that's that throws off the supply economy of food, but there's easier ways to make up for that. But it's so one note. Like every single enemy outside of the shark is just circle strafe and shoot with arrows, or circle strafe and poke with a stick. Even the last boss, who is like the big boss, had like one extra move, and you still could circle strafe as long as you didn't step in the poison puddles. So the combat system was really lacking in this game. The second big thing is, this game went through a lengthy early access period, but there's still a lot of like quirk to this game. Like there's just some quirky things that happen. Like the big one that I noticed right away, and you'll see it in the beginning videos, is like I struggle to pick up some rocks, because if you're standing on ground but looking down at the rocks in the water, you can't pick them up with the hook. It just doesn't register it as an interaction. There are also like little bugs here and there that happened. Nothing major or game breaking that I saw. but they are present. Like I got like my hook stuck once, and that was a pain in the butt. Beyond that, like I said, the story isn't anything great. Like I've already talked about that as like a con. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I'd like to give more things I didn't like, but overall, like the game was a very positive experience. I did, thinking back, since this is pretty freeform, I had like some bullet points, but thinking back, I did like the variety of the islands as you went along. Initially in the game, like when you're through, because there's like three stages to the game. If you play it early access, you know that they've added the three stages along the way. When you're in stage one, all the islands are basically the same. Like occasionally you come across a large island that's a little different, but it still just has a boar and a bird, or two boars. But as you went along, like once you got into like the mid game and the late game, the island density and differential skyrockets, and that was a lot more fun. When you do go to the story islands, as much as I harp on the story itself, the story islands are really well done. Like they include some puzzles, they include some interesting locations. Like the ice area was really cool. Solving the radiation puzzle was neat. That kind of stuff. That puzzle solving, like the Myst-esque puzzle solving, was actually really good. So I did leave that out of the pros, but it did just spring to mind. And like I want these videos to be a little more freeform. I'm gonna have some, like I said, bullet points that I want to hit on, and obviously I know my feelings on the game at this point, because I've finished it, and I can look back and say, boy, I really enjoyed that game, or maybe not as much as I thought I would. This game is not that way. Like this game, hit all the major beats for me. It was a fun survival game. It had, somewhat of an interesting story, though I think it could have been better. The biggest letdown for me was by far the combat system, because coming to this game, the last survival game I played is Grounded, and while its combat system is nothing revolutionary, it was, very good. There were a lot of layers to it, nuances to it, weaknesses, proficiencies, stuff like that. Like you could spec your character out with different mutations and stuff. So this game, it was, okay, am I going in the water? Okay, let me equip the flippers, and take my spear. Am I going on land? Okay, let me equip armor and take the spear. So it was, that area coming from Grounded was a little disappointing, but overall, and I'm gonna say this one last time, it is a great game. I would highly recommend checking it out if you can catch it on sale, or if you're just a general fan for the survival genre. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye to our first voiced video. These will generally pop up again as wrap-ups, or as general thoughts videos. I'm gonna try a whole bunch of games, and I'm not gonna finish all of them, and I'm not gonna hold myself to finish it for the channel if I don't enjoy it. Now, if you're enjoying it, and maybe it's a game I'm really struggling on, maybe I'll power through it, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm not going to force myself to finish anything I'm not having fun with. That's just kind of the philosophy here. I guess the final thing is, if you would like to see like commentated gameplay or stuff like that, there is a plan in place for me to probably do some streamed games, and that's probably going to be where you're going to be like my commentated live gameplay videos. I don't have any plans to do like produced content like something like Indie Mouse, or Fighting Cowboy does for like the Souls games and stuff. There's just not something I have the capability to do right now in my life on a regular basis. So I want to keep putting out the long play content, and then these shorter, to the point videos. So with that, if you're enjoying everything, obviously subscribing is the best way. If you have any questions or anything about the game, or other survival games, because I've played a ton, like if you want recommendations, be sure to leave a comment, like all that fun stuff. Otherwise, see you later.